Even better than I was the last time, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh.
We back.
I'm good. Ooh, yeah. I'm good. Better than I was the last time, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh.
We back, and 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 we back.
Better than I was the last time.
Raps just made me anxious, and that shit made me crazy. And squares just made me looser, that wax just made me lazy. And I still make this song, and I'ma make another. If you ever actually hit me, better watch out for my brother. Better, I'll take that deal. Gotta watch out for my mother. Get a watch with all that glitters. Come in clutters, different colors. Been a baller, been for Butler. Chauffeur, hit a stainer. Did I stutter? Did a ton of drugs and did better than on my alma mater. Money dance, honey's in, Galilee.
Welcome on in. It's the Sports Wrap. Right here on 95.3 WCHE. Francisco Rojas, I got you for the next hour. Talking some sports, Philadelphia sports, national sports, and definitely some Westchester sports today. Not necessarily Westchester University athletics, but a big-time story involving a Westchester team. Westchester Little League headed to the Little League World Series, so it's a big story, and they're going to represent the Mid-Atlantic region. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show, but you had NFL preseason starting, so we're getting closer and closer to week 1 of the regular season in the National Football League. We had the Field of Dreams game a couple of days ago. We'll touch on that in about 10 minutes from now. Obviously, Major League Baseball, you're getting closer and closer to the regular season ending. It's really, right now, it's the stretch run of which teams are going to make the playoffs, fighting for playoff spots. You got teams interchanging these wild card spots, divisional spots, almost every other day. So we'll discuss this, around Major League Baseball, around the NFL as preseason week 1 has started. We have some games today, including the Philadelphia Eagles. And there's a weird Jaden Daniels controversy. There's been some funny tweets that I've seen over the last couple of days. So we'll touch on the Jaden Daniels topic. But where I want to start, we're gonna talk some football to start, because the Philadelphia Eagles do play a football game tonight. No, it is not regular season football, and we are not going to see, I don't know, are we going to see the starters? I'm not really sure, but the Eagles will be playing against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore tonight at 7 o'clock. Just looking forward to have some Eagles football back. Early August for me is always when I start to get that itch of okay, I'm ready for football season to be back. A little bit of July, but baseball's my number one. It's my number one love, but always going to love it. But I am excited for the NFL to be back and Eagles have Eagles football back in general. And where I want to start is just how I'm feeling about, because I'm thinking about it, and I haven't really touched on how I feel about the team since the season ended way back in January, unfortunately losing to the San Francisco 49ers early on in the postseason. But I do want to talk about how I'm feeling about the team right now, because I haven't really talked about it since then. And this is where I am. And I think as I'm getting closer, we're about, technically, we're a little less than a month away from the season opener against Washington. This is where I am right now. I've been trying to think about the words, and you're generally always usually pretty excited. The NFL's the biggest league in the country, so you're always excited about having the NFL back. Excited about having the team and watching them play, but right now, because obviously this time last year it was a little bit different, because you're coming off the Super Bowl and you're like, oh, can they repeat? We're ready for a dynasty, blah, blah, blah. And after the season they just had, where it wasn't a bad season, but I would say in the last decade of Eagles football, they have been better. But 3 Super Bowls appearances, 2 Super Bowl victories, things like that. We know how it goes. These Eagles teams over the last decade or so have set a new standard. But going into the season, after we saw what we just saw in 2025, I would say I'm eager. I think that's the word I would use. I'm eager. I don't know if I'm like stoked, pumped, like, oh my gosh, like, no, there are, I'm eager to see what things are going to look like. There are concerns. There are things to be excited about, but there are concerns. So I'm eager right now. I'm very eager. And I'm eager on a few fronts, right? And some of these things I'm eager about, I'm also like, genuine concerns. So I'm eager to see, hopefully, the offensive line can stay healthier than it did last year. Cam Jurgens was dealing with something that he was dealing with all season. Landon Dickerson got hurt in training camp. Lane Johnson missed time. The offensive line was banged up, and we know how important this offensive line can be, dating back to the mid-2010s, obviously with Jeff Stoutland here, and now it's not going to be Stoutland, it's going to be Cooper, who's the offensive line coach, Chris Cooper. So the offensive line, I'm eager to see what they're going to look like. I'm eager to see what this receiving core is going to look like without A.J. Brown now. Mekhi Lemon with the injury. Again, that's a concern, but it's also something I'm really eager and excited to see. Jalen Hurts, how is he going to look like in this new offense under Sean Mannion? And then on the defensive side of the football, I'm eager to see, Jonathan Grenard right now is hurt, but I'm eager to see what he's going to look like on this D-line. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis on new contracts. Jihad Campbell, what he's going to look like in year 2. There's been a lot of talk about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He's been making some noise. What kind of impact can he have on this team? No Nakobe Dean now. You got Reek Woolen. This has the potential to be the best trio of corners in the NFL. There's a lot to be optimistic about, and I'm really eager. But again, there are the concerns, right? On the one side, with Mannion, I don't know. Another offensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator, has never been a coordinator, in the NFL, has had roles, but has not been an offensive coordinator. What's Sean Mannion going to look like with the offense? Again, the O-line, can they stay healthy? And then, once again, no A.J. Brown. Look, as much as A.J. may or may not have been a problem in the locker room, the Eagles are really good at making it seem like there wasn't problems, but no A.J. Brown. A.J. was still he still is, to me, one of the most talented receivers in football. And at least numbers-wise, he's made an impact when he was here. But no A.J. Brown. Mekhi Lemon, we'll see what's going on with this injury. And then it's going to be Devontae. What's he going to look like, as the number one receiver? I don't think I'm feeling negative about that, but we'll see. This will be his time to shine as the number one receiver. And then Dontavian Wicks, there's been discussion that he's looked really good in camp, and I've been able to see that a couple of times down at the Jefferson Health Training Complex. So what's his team going to look like? There's things I'm really excited and eager to see, but also some things I'm concerned about. So it's kind of an interesting season to go into, and especially last year with the reports about how Jalen was handling working with Kevin Patullo and how he was handling things on the field and all that. It's going to be, the Eagles have been a soap opera seemingly every year since I've been alive. I'm 31, so it feels like, especially the last 15 years since the Chip days, it really feels like they have been a soap opera. But that's just what you get with the Eagles in Philadelphia. So tonight, Eagles will play at the Ravens, their first preseason game. I would like to see the starters at least for a drive. It used to be they played the first quarter, and then that was pretty much it. I would like to see them at least for a drive or two. I'm not, I don't want to see the starters too much because you don't want them to get hurt in a game. It doesn't matter. But I would like to see them for at least a drive or half the quarter. But I don't know. We'll see what Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff will do. And obviously, there are things to watch with some of these things that I mentioned, with some of the guys that are fighting for spots in the receiving core, some reserve roles, special teams, players fighting for spots. That's really what you're watching for tonight with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles at Ravens at 7 o'clock. Transitioning to the Phils. So the Phils go 2-2 this week, and they lose 2 of 3 to the Cardinals. Only scored 1 run out of those last 2 games. And then you had the Field of Dreams game, which was on Thursday, and the Phils win that game decisively 7-1. You got a really good start from Aaron Nola. Look, this is why I've not given up on Aaron Nola completely, because I've said in the past that, like, look, Nola has had down stretches in his career, but even after he's had down stretches, he's come back and been a good pitcher. And right now, he's probably looked the best he has, I would say, in the last season and a half. Last year with the injuries, and then this year he just hasn't been good. But Nola looked fantastic tonight or on Thursday against Minnesota, and the offense made sure they did their job. You got Kyle Schwarber hitting one out to the corn, first batter of the game. Of course he does. That's just what Kyle Schwarber does, and Schwarber has gone through a little bit of a dry spell over the last month and a half, but looks like Schwarber might be getting it going a little bit. Had 2 home runs in the game, and Brandon Marsh hit a homer, and behind Nola, bullpen did a nice job. Johan Duran coming into the game in the 9th to get it done against his old team, and it was cool, man. My whole thing is that I watched the 2 prior Field of Dreams games. This was the first one in 4 years since the Reds and the Cubs played in 2022. The first one, it's been hard to match since that first one. It really set the bar high with the Yankees and White Sox. The White Sox walked it off in 2021 against the Yankees. It's hard to match that one. But I think the Field of Dreams game, I think it's cool to have once every 4 to 5 years, which is, this is the first one in 4 years. So it was cool, having the Hall of Famers walk out of the cornfield. Again, you can't do it every year because I think it gets way too, no pun intended, way too corny. So, but yeah, it was cool. You had Carlton, you had Schmidt, you had Pudge walking out, Jim Cott, Jim Thome, some of the Phillies legends, some of the Twins legends. You had Scott Rowland in there. It was cool. It was a cool sight. I thought Netflix did a good job with the game. I know they've been catching a lot of heat for how they did the Derby and things they did in the past with opening night with the Giants and the Yankees. But I think overall the Netflix did a good job and couldn't have worked out better for Philadelphia and the Phils. You had 7-1 victory and hopefully can kind of jumpstart them a little bit and get going, because look, the Phils right now, as it stands, are out of a playoff spot. They are tied record-wise with the Diamondbacks, but the Diamondbacks have a better run differential right now at plus 13. The Phillies have a minus one run differential. They're 3 games in front of the Marlins in the wild card race, but right now the Phils are on the outside looking in, 65-58. Phils do have to, right now every series is important. I'm not worried about them missing the playoffs, but they need to play some of their best baseball of the season, right now. And need to finish the season well for the next month and a half, because it would definitely, obviously, be a disappointment if this team were to miss the playoffs. So 2-2 this week. Field of Dreams game was cool. They win the game. That was fun. Tonight it will be Luzardo going on the mound against the Minnesota Twins. Game start will be 7:10 in Minnesota. As that Minnesota game, Field of Dreams game was technically a road game. All right, next thing I wanted to touch on is the Sixers schedule came out this week. Where, at first we had the opening night announced against the Knicks, and then the Christmas game against the Lakers. So a lot of LeBron tie-ins for this schedule announcements, and the entire slate of the Sixers season was announced a couple of days ago. The key games that you need to know, obviously opening night, no surprise here, opening night, October 20th at the New York Knicks. Again, no surprise. You have LeBron here on the Sixers, and they're going up against the Knicks. The Knicks are defending champs. And then 2 nights later, the home opener against Cleveland. Again, leaning into the LeBron thing. Home opener against Cleveland. Another one to keep note is the first time the Sixers play the Celtics, obviously with the Jaylen Brown ties here. So November 10th against Boston, the Sixers will be hosting the Boston Celtics. And then you have the Christmas game at the Los Angeles Lakers. So Sixers will be going up against the Lakers. First time LeBron will be returning to LA. It'll be a 2 p.m. game. 2 p.m. game. It says local. So what's that? Okay, so 2 p.m. in LA, but it will be a 5 o'clock start here. I kind of like that better. 5 o'clock start here against the Lakers. And then another one to note is January 21st, the Sixers will be going to Boston for the first time. So Jaylen Brown's first time being back in Boston. I'm assuming Jaylen Brown's going to be wanting to have his best games going up against the Celtics this season. So January 21st, Sixers are returning to Boston, or Jaylen Brown's returning to Boston. 34 nationally televised games. So I think there's a max on how many nationally televised games that an NBA team can play in. 34 is the number. So I think this is the first time in history the Sixers will be playing in all 34. The max is 34, and the Sixers will be reaching the max for the first time in team history. So that obviously was probably going to happen as the Sixers were, they acquired Jaylen Brown and then they get LeBron. Especially when you get LeBron, you're going to get these nationally televised games. This is clearly one of the last seasons that LeBron will be playing in, or so we think. Rich Paul saying, there might be 3 or 4, depending how this goes. I don't know. But LeBron, when you get LeBron especially, getting the 34 nationally televised games isn't something to scoff at. So I can't wait for the season to start. And the Twitter question is in relation to talking about the Sixers season and the Eagles season, so I want to get to that in a second. But one thing that did happen last week, right as I think the show ended, was Lane Johnson talking about potentially this being his last season, so going back to the Birds here. But, Lane Johnson is a pretty old player at this point, but, a little bit like Jason Kelce, has been, still been an all-pro. I mean, Jason Kelce retired now, but Jason Kelce, some of his best years, last 5 seasons of his career. Lane Johnson, unfortunately, was hurt last year, but the 3 seasons prior was an all-pro. First team back in 2022. But Lane Johnson talking here about this potentially being his last season.
How do you know when it's time to come back? How do you balance kind of do we have to do? Yeah, it's, as you get older, things change in your life, priorities, your children get older, parents get older, and so, just puts things into perspective. So, looking like, this is probably potentially going to be my last year, just because I am getting to that point of those priorities, away from football are starting to merge. Not that I don't enjoy, I love everything about this game and preparing for it, but that's kind of where I'm at in my career. So, just looking forward to this year, playing the best I can, and stay healthy, and that's about it.
Yeah, so, there was a period of time, there was a week or 2 ago, that Lane had taken off 3 or 4, he missed 3 or 4 practices because of personal reasons, and priorities change as you get older. Who knows what he's dealing with, but it makes sense. Again, Lane is at this point in his career, is 36, pretty old for an O lineman too. Been in the game 13 years, and potentially a Hall of Fame career. So Lane has been a key piece to the Eagles' success over the last 10 or so years, and has been in the league since 2013. Came in the league at 4th overall pick. Has had some ups and downs too. Obviously had the 2 PED suspensions, and but Lane has been such a staple since he's been here. So this could be his last year, and hopefully the Eagles can take advantage of that and maybe get another Super Bowl or make a really deep run in the playoffs. So, but I wanted to introduce the Twitter question before we get to the first break of the program. But with the Eagles preseason starting tonight, and then, in a week or in a month, the Eagles regular season will start. And I talked about the Sixers schedule. I'm curious, which upcoming season are you more excited for? Obviously, Eagles are number one when it comes to Philadelphia sports with popularity, but the Sixers get Jaylen Brown and LeBron. And I'm telling you right now, because I put the poll out about like 40 minutes ago, I'm surprised at the results. I'm surprised. And I don't want to say anything more because I want you to go vote. But also, I'm surprised right now. I don't want to reveal any of the results yet. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. Just like all things considered, I'm a little surprised. So we will. I will reveal the results. You can go vote at 95.3 WCHE. Vote. Which upcoming season are you more excited for? Are you more excited for the Sixers or the Eagles? Eagles, always excited. This is a season I'm eager to, and I'm looking forward to. But the Philadelphia 76ers did get Jaylen Brown and LeBron James. So, and I'm a little surprised so far. But we'll see as the show goes on. So, all right, coming up. Big time suspension in the NFL. What it can mean for the NFC South? Man, this guy's going to miss half a season. Man, really surprised, but that's coming up right here on 95.3 WCHE.
Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. When you're on a holiday, you can't find the words to say. All the things that come to you, and I wanna feel it too. On an island in the sun.
Welcome back. Sports Wrap right here on 95.3 WCHE. You can listen online at 953wche.com as well as on the radio, 95.3 FM if you're in the Westchester area. Thank you so much for spending the time with me this morning. I'm so glad to spend it with you. And NFL, man. We talked about football good amount in the first segment, and we've had some preseason football. Again, like I said, always just good to have football back, I would say, just in general. Again, it's you're not seeing like all the starters. I mean, some teams are playing their starters, some teams are not. The Bengals play their starters in their game against the Detroit Lions, and the Lions didn't. I mean, Jared Goff at least did not play. You didn't see Jahmyr Gibbs. So I don't know. Some teams decide to play their starters, some teams don't. I mean, I think what it all comes down to is, like, I don't know. You do what's best for your team. I mean, this is me as a fan. I always think it's best to at least play the starters a little bit to get them a little bit of. Now, obviously, the preseason games are not mattering like they do to the regular season, obviously. But I think it's good for players to get in some like real game action to a certain extent. Obviously, when it comes to preseason, it's more about guys that are trying to fight for roster spots and to make the team, and that in general. Like it's for guys like that. Clearly, Joe Burrow, who did play against the Lions, is not fighting for a roster spot. Neither is Jamar Chase. Like, those guys are not fighting for roster spots. So clearly, but it's just, I think in general, it's good to have the National Football League back. So like I mentioned with the Bengals and the Lions, the Bengals won 16-14 in that first game for both of those teams in their first preseason game. Also, the Steelers, we saw a little bit of Drew Allar. We saw a little bit of Mason Rudolph for the Steelers. Both of them had a pretty good game, at least completion percentage-wise. Allar was 10 of 13 with a couple of touchdowns. Mason Rudolph, 10 of 11. Aaron Rodgers did not play in this game. He was on the sidelines. We saw Kyle McCord, the former Bird, former Syracuse quarterback. He went 12 of 16 with 102 yards. And Jordan Love did spend some time early on in this game, went 3 for 5, 18 yards. And the Steelers would get a couple of touchdowns from Alar Lou Nichols, also former Bird. Look at that, a bunch of former Birds in this game. And so Steelers 28-9 over the Green Bay Packers. Cardinals and the Raiders. Cardinals won 27-14. Now, this was a nice game because we got to see a little bit of the top draft picks from this past draft. We have Fernando Mendoza. He went 10 of 16 with a touchdown. We saw Jeremiah Love, who was one of the top draft picks from Notre Dame last year. Playing with Notre Dame, but was third or fourth overall pick? He was a third overall pick. For the Cardinals, he had a pretty nice game, 11 carries for 58 yards. Cardinals saw a lot of Gardner Minshew. He went 14 of 16, 101 yards, 2 touchdown passes. And so the Cardinals end up winning 27-14 over the Raiders out in Vegas. Also, the Titans, they won 19-13 over the 49ers. Chargers beat the Texans on the road 27-7. Colts and Patriots tied 13-all in this game. So there you go. You get a tie. That they're not even playing the overtime. And why would you? So 13-all. And then yesterday, Tua did not look so good for the Atlanta Falcons. Tua Tagovailoa, 3 of 5, but he did play in this game, and we're going to see kind of how the Falcons are going to look this year, because now, and I'll discuss in a couple of minutes, the James Pierce Jr. Suspension, because that's pretty big for the Falcons. He's going to miss half a season. But Tua played in this game. Cooper Rush also had some time. So did Jack Strand. And yeah, the Falcons lost 27-7 to the Broncos in this preseason game. And then also the Bucks and Jets. Bucks won 24-16 over New York. And then the Commanders, who the Eagles are going to face in Week 1. The Commanders won 20-7 over the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, you had Malik Willis, who is going to be their starter this year. He went 4 of 5. So I mean, they're not a lot to. We'll touch on Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels did not play in this game, but no Jaden Daniels. You saw some Sam Hartman, and you saw a little bit of Marcus Mariota. You saw a little bit of Ethan Kaliakmanis, and so that's about it. And some other games. So we do have the Eagles and Ravens tonight at 7. Panthers and Bills will play 1 o'clock today, as will the Browns and Bears. Vikings going out to New York to play the Giants. 4 o'clock, couple of games. The Rams heading up to Kansas City and playing the Chiefs, Jags, and Saints. And then the 8 o'clock game will be Cowboys at the Seahawks. So those are some of your Week 1 matchups for the preseason. And we'll head back to football in a couple of minutes, but I do want to do a little bit of around Major League Baseball. Unfortunately, the Cincinnati Reds, who announced would be getting Tommy John surgery, will be out for the rest of the season. The Reds, who are currently fighting for a playoff spot, they are 5 games back in the National League wild card. But we got some news that Hunter Green will be done for the rest of the year. He did get Tommy John surgery, and he might miss all of next year as well, which is really, 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 really crappy for the Reds, and really crappy for him, crappy for the Reds. I mean, Hunter Green is somebody that has, I mean, look, what was it, a couple of years ago where he did start 26 games and finished top 10 in Cy Young voting, but he's been somebody the last couple of seasons that has struggled with injuries, and especially after those first 2 seasons where he was just okay, but shown flashes. Obviously, his fastball, honestly, one of the better ones in Major League Baseball, and really seemed like he was turning the corner, 24 and 25, where he had a 2.75 and 2.76 ERA respectively both seasons. And really unfortunate news for him as the 27-year-old pitcher going to get Tommy John surgery. And really, the Reds have had the potential to have some of the best rotations in baseball, especially Chase Burns, who's been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball this year. He's there. Andrew Abbott, who's had an okay season, but Andrew Abbott, last year and even really the first 3 seasons was pretty good. Especially last season was his breakout year. But between Burns, between Abbott, between Hunter Green, even Nick Lodolo, not having the best season, also has struggled with injuries. But last year, breakout season for him. And man, the Reds have had just opportunities to really break out of things, or not break out of things, but they made the playoffs last year and lost to the Dodgers. But the Reds have had those potentials to have really, really, really good rotations. And Rhett Lauder's coming now too, but Rhett Lauder not having the best start to his Major League Baseball career, at least this year, has an ERA over 5. But it's unfortunate news for the Reds, man. Really, really unfortunate news. And so we get the news on Hunter Green. And speaking of some of the games last night, Dodgers get a 3-1 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers. Potential NLCS preview. Potential. Yoshinobu Yamamoto doing what he does. He went 6, only allowed 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. You got some homers from Tommy Edman and Andy Pages. And again, it was NLCS. It was the NLCS last year. Maybe a potential NLCS preview this season. I don't know. Still two of the better teams in the National League. The Brewers right now with the best record in all of Major League Baseball with 75 and 48. And the Dodgers are right there, 74 and 49, of course. And so are the Braves, 73 and 49. So the Dodgers get a win at home last night against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cubs have been really good, and the Cubs are right there with some of the best records in the National League. They get a 3-0 win over the St. Louis Cardinals, and they had a 3-run or a homer from Seiya Suzuki, and got a nice start from Clay Holmes, who's they acquired at the deadline. And we'll see if that is going to, really propel them to try to make a run in the playoffs. So Cubs get a 3-0 victory. The Reds, like I mentioned, they got a 1-0 win over the Marlins and had a really dominant start from Chase Burns. He went 7, allowed 4 hits, 8 strikeouts. So just a little bit of around Major League Baseball. And if you're a Phils fan, Arizona, like I mentioned, did win. Or Arizona being in that third wildcard spot, they did win 2-0 over the Atlanta Braves. Last night, Brandon Pfaadt, really good start for them. 7 innings of shutout ball. Chris Sale, really good for the Braves as well. Putting together that Hall of Fame career, but wasn't enough. The Braves didn't do anything offensively against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then, so that's just some around Major League Baseball. And then I want to go back to football because this James Pierce Jr. News, not great for him and not great for the Falcons. As James Pierce Jr., according to ESPN, has been suspended by the NFL for 8 games due to violating the league's personal conduct policy when he was arrested on domestic violence charges way back in February. But the NFL is going to hand out a 8-game ban, and Pierce did not appeal his suspension. And so way back in February, 22-year-old Pierce allegedly used a vehicle to repeatedly ram into a car driven by his ex-girlfriend and WNBA player Rakia Jackson in an alleged effort to stop her from reaching a police station during a domestic dispute on February 7th in Doral, Florida. Police officers responded to Jackson's call, and Pierce fled in his vehicle before crashing it and fleeing on foot. He was also accused of resisting arrest. Not good stuff, and he was facing felony charges of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, fleeing police, and resisting arrest, as well as a misdemeanor stalking. Not good stuff for him. Not good stuff for the situation there with his ex-girlfriend, Rickea Jackson. Not great for her, and just not good situation overall. What it means football-wise for the Falcons, man. The Falcons are a team that was 8-9 last year, and look, NFC South, not so great. And, I mean, James Pierce, in his rookie year, 10.5 sacks. 10.5 sacks that led the team. Next best was 8.5 from Brandon Dorlus. And then they got some news on Jalen Walker a couple of days ago with the injury for him. So he was a first-round pick way for them last year. Man, the Falcons, who, look, we know Bijan just got an extension, and, we'll see what they're going to look like this year. But not great for them. Not great that they're going to be missing somebody that had 10.5 sacks for them and looking like he was going to have a bright NFL future. Maybe he still can. And yeah, I mean, that's a big deal, especially in the NFC South. I mean, last year, NFC South was won by the Carolina Panthers, 8-9, and the Bucs were 8-9, and the Falcons were 8-9. It was not a good division. And I mean, it's not like a whole lot has changed this year. It's not like a whole lot has changed. I mean, we'll see another year for Bryce Young and the Panthers. Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, I was thinking they were going to have a better season than they did last year. I think a lot of people did. And we'll see. But this big news for James Pierce Jr. and the National Football League and the Falcons. So, yeah, not great for James Pierce Jr. Suspended 8 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy after being arrested way back in February. So, all right, coming up, man, there's a few things I really want to talk about, which is Westchester Little League team, man. They're headed to the Little League World Series. We'll talk about that and the Jaden Daniels controversy. What the heck, man? Weird situation. All right, that's coming up in the final segment right here on the Sport Trap on WCHA. And welcome back. 95.3 WCHE. Francisco Rojas right here on the Sports Wrap. One more segment to go, taking you up to the Christian Nagopian show. That's coming up next right here at 11 a.m. And so happy to have all of you in. If you want to listen to the podcasted version of the show, if you miss any parts or just want to listen back to a segment even, which is fine, you can go to 953wche.com and scroll over to the podcast section, and you can find shows from this program that are podcasted, as well as you can listen to stuff like the morning show and anything else. We podcast a bunch of the programs here, and shout out to Eric and a bunch of the team that does it here. So really appreciate that. But man, we got to talk about this. Eastside Little League team has made the Little League World Series. And so Eastside Little League of Westchester, right here in Westchester, is heading to Williamsport after they beat the Naaman's Little League of Wilmington, Delaware, with a 3-1 victory that happened yesterday. And first, I want you to hear what it sounded like yesterday. It was a really incredible play by the third baseman, too. First and second, 2 outs in the 6th inning, because they play 6 innings in the Little League World Series. First and second, 2 outs, and this is what the final call sounded like on ESPN.
Slow roller left side. This is going to be trouble. The throw to first is in time. They will challenge the call at first. The celebration is on. Westchester, for the moment, is going to Williamsport, but a challenge being requested by Carl DiDonato. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Here's the moment.
Final score,
It's
Pennsylvania 3, Delaware 1.
From Westchester to Williamsport, Eastside is going to the Little League World Series.
Region at the Little League Baseball World Series in South Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Let's go. We have a team from Westchester in the Little League World Series. It's really exciting. And after their 3-1 victory over the team from Wilmington, Delaware, in the Mid-Atlantic Region Tournament Final, Cole Warner of the team had 8 strikeouts in the win over the team from Delaware. He also scored a run. And it's exciting, man. I mean, look, there's been teams over the years. Like, I'm a Delco guy, so we had a team from Media a couple of years ago. And, we've had teams from Media, from Bucks County, from Chester County over the last couple of years. We've had teams in the general area, the tri-state Northeast area that have made the Little League World Series. It's always an exciting run. I mean, like, Little League World Series is always exciting. It's going to be starting on the 19th, so I guess that would be technically, I don't know, but early next week. So the 19th is Wednesday, so middle of the week, not early next week, but middle of the week. It will run till the 30th. So we'll see if this East Side Little League team can make a run. We're clearly going to be locked into every game for this East Side Little League team. Always exciting to have a local team in the bracket representing Pennsylvania. So I'm stoked about it. Really cool. This story so far about this Westchester Little League team. You're always looking out for the stories like this, and looking forward to seeing what some of these kids got. There's always something like when I played in Little League, especially in like elementary school. I was like, man, it would be really cool to play in the Little League World Series, and never got the chance. I did play on a tournament team. It was like, well, I played on a tournament team like 5th going into 6th grade, and our team sucked. So we weren't ever getting anywhere. But there was always that dream. There was always that dream of like, oh, well, man, what if we got to Williamsport? That'd be pretty cool. And we were definitely not good enough. But, you can always dream as a kid. You're taught to dream as a kid. Never did get to the Little League World Series, though. And, that team I was on stunk way back. But really cool, this story about this Westchester team. We're going to be obviously watching every game when it starts on the 19th. I don't know when their exact first game is, but the Little League World Series, the actual tournament, will be starting on the 19th. It's been regionals and stuff like that over the last week, and it's always exciting this time in mid-August. You're always looking forward to the Little League World Series. Okay, next thing I wanted to discuss. Man, this is some crybaby stuff, man. Let's be real. Some crybaby stuff. Jaden Daniels, there's been a lot of funny tweets I've been seeing. The Mets had like an all-time one yesterday. But according to ESPN.com, an attorney representing the Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels informed the LSU that it can no longer use his name, image, and likeness, according to an August 5th letter sent to Tigers athletic director Verge Ausberry, a copy which was obtained by ESPN on Wednesday. That was according to ESPN.com. And it's really because the new Tigers quarterback, sophomore cornerback, I apologize, DJ Pickett, is going to wear number 5 at LSU, and he will be the first one to wear number 5 since Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy with the team way back in 2023. I'm saying way back, but not 3 years ago. 3 years ago in 2023, when Jaden Daniels had an unbelievable season, had 40 touchdown passes, won the Heisman, had 1,100 rushing yards, and led the nation in yards per carry. He had an unbelievable season, won the Heisman, and deservedly so. But I think it's like, so I guess it's because I guess nobody has worn Joe Burrow's number 9 since 2019, but I don't think they ever retired it. And so according to Lane Kiffin, though, he told reporters August 5th that Pickett had been promised he could wear number 5 when he signed with LSU in December of 24. Pickett had worn that number as a high school star in Florida, where he was the number 2 cornerback in the class of 2025 by ESPN Recruiting. And so, I mean, my whole thing is this, right? It's college football. I don't know, Tim Tebow's number 15 is not retired by the University of Florida. And I think Notre Dame has a policy that they don't retire numbers. And I totally get it, just because college football, there's such a large pool of guys that come in every year, and I mean, there's some guys that wear the same numbers on the team, and recently, I think it was last year, there was that whole thing with the punter and the quarterback that were wearing the same numbers, and they were able to pull off a fake punt. Pretty sure that happened, and I forget if they were going to change a policy there too, but the point being is that they have such a new amount of guys that are coming in every year, recruiting class, and I'm totally okay with guys wearing the same numbers. It's college, and it this is how it is. Maybe college basketball, you can do it a little bit differently because there's 15 guys or 10 to 15 guys that are playing there. It's a little bit different with football. They don't really retire numbers. Again, Tim Tebow's number 15 is not retired by University of Florida, and that guy had an unbelievable career in the mid to late 2000s with Florida. I mean, I'm totally okay with them not retiring the numbers. And now you're seeing tweets from the Mets, who won last night, where the Mets won and they beat the Nats, and they won 4-1, and the Mets tweeted out 13 hours ago, stopped at 4 out of respect for Jaden Daniels. And man, that's look, not a fan of the Mets as an Eagles fan, as a Phillies fan, but it's a great tweet. Got 90,000 likes, has 3.3 million views on Twitter. That's a fantastic tweet. We've been seeing some good stuff. Yeah, the Mets had stopped at 4 out of respect for Jaden Daniels. Where's another good one? Oh, this was a couple of days ago. StubHub tweeted out, effective immediately, we will no longer offer tickets in groups of 5. Out of respect for Jaden Daniels, we were only doing 4 or 6 plus. Thank you for your understanding. What are some other good ones? Yeah, Orioles on Masson tweeted out last night, the Orioles TV network, went from 4 to 6 runs out of respect for Jaden Daniels. It's good stuff, man. It is good stuff. It's good stuff. There was another one that I think Columbia University football, they tweeted out of respect for Jaden Daniels, we have removed the 5-yard line from our field. There's a picture of their 5-yard line removed. And it was good stuff, man. Good stuff. What was it? Minor League Baseball, one more. Minor League Baseball tweeted out about a day ago. Yesterday's game will resume 5:05 p.m. tonight in the 5th inning. Hope that's okay with Jaden Daniels. Because Syracuse and Jacksonville had to resume a game. So it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Yeah, good stuff, man. It's been some funny stuff. And Jaden Daniels, yeah, just a little bit of crybaby stuff for me from the Jaden Daniels thing. Last thing. So Troy Aikman is going to be getting the same rules as Tom Brady as a broadcaster. So Troy Aikman, who took on a formal advisory role with the Miami Dolphins this offseason, will be barred from team facilities when broadcasting games this year. Aikman with Joe Buck, with ESPN. And so during the week leading up to games, he can do customary production meetings virtually. But they're not going to be allowed to be there at the team facilities because they've taken roles with teams. So, Brady with the Raiders and then Aikman with the Miami Dolphins. the one thing I have a problem with is, like, both Aikman and Brady are theoretically going to be allowed to broadcast a game in which their team is playing. I still don't like that. I think that's weird. That, okay, Brady's not a head coach. Aikman's not a freaking head coach or an offensive coordinator. But that's their teams, though. Like, they're a part of those teams in some way. I still think that's odd. I don't think they should be allowed to. Now, I don't think the Dolphins have any Monday Night Football games this year. I don't know what the deal is with the Raiders, with Brady. I still think that's odd, man. It's just a little weird to me. So I'm not in love with that. All right, to close out the show, let's get to the Twitter poll results. And the question was, once again, which upcoming season are you more excited for? And I'm still, like, surprised. So, and you can still go vote on this, because I put this for a day. Sometimes I put this for a couple hours just for the show purpose, but I put this for a day. So you still have time to vote. And you have time to make this right. Which upcoming season are you more excited for? Eagles or the Sixers? 63% said Eagles. 37% said Sixers. I'm surprised by that. We got LeBron James. And we're not coming off a year we won the Super Bowl. I'm surprised that more people are excited for the Eagles season than the Sixers. That is surprising to me. I thought it would be more Sixers, but it's more Eagles. So that's surprising to me. It's not like overwhelming, but still, like 63%, 37%. I thought it would be more the other way, where it's like 75-25 Sixers. We got LeBron. Like, what are we doing? I'm surprised. All right, but anyway, that will do it for another hour of the Sports Wrap. But I'll be back next week to talk about hopefully the Phils are playing better, and hopefully we'll get closer to football season. So I'm excited. So hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. It's been Francisco Rojas. Talk to you guys later.